wouldn't take that long. I mean, there's probably like, what, 100 people?
So the other men are sitting in like dressing rooms getting ready for the show, and he's out by hot grill cooking hundreds of burgers for all the people.
Yeah.
Wow. That is dedication.
Yeah.
And the love for what you do, for sure.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to another episode of A Fine Podcast with your host, Amanda and
Joseph. We are here for the Men Tell All.
Men Tell All.
Actually, the Men Tell All.
The Mansion Men.
Yeah, don't forget that article.
Mansion Men Tell All. But we're so excited to be back. How has your week been?
Yeah, it's been swell. Swell.
Wow.
How's your week been?
Pretty good.
I don't know how your week's been going, even though I see you every day.
Yeah, at every moment of every day. No, not at every moment. We both work remote, though, which is fun. This week, we have Joseph's parents joining us. Not in the episode, but
yeah, they're
at our
here
house.
Yeah, they're staying here. They're helping watch the kids, so that's great.
Yeah, that's great.
Indeed.
The boys are with their grandparents right now.
They are. So yeah, shout out to them. Thanks for doing that.
Shout out to Joseph's parents. Thank you. Thank you.
Woo.
Woohoo! Yeah, so that's been fun. And really, we've just been on the edge of our seats, just waiting to hear the men tell all.
Maybe one of us has been like that. Not
You haven't been just dying to hear about
No.
what they have to say or what they now look like with the people with new looks?
Yeah, I mean, there's that. They didn't even like show that much like new stuff though. I feel like a quarter of the show was new stuff.
Yeah, let's
a
talk
lot
about
of it
this.
is just like repeat of which is why I've always hated this episode. We've watched some other shows that were not current, so and I always I always requested to skip this one because it was just a waste.
I would say the other episodes where they solely do recaps and they don't have the people there live to talk about it, that's really bad. Like just one straight recap and bloopers show with no live people. Not good.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is nice to see them live.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a very tiny bit that they throw on there that kind of seasons the episode a little bit to be a little more flavorful.
Right. It's like catching up with them, but also seeing them all together again, especially with the great bonds that they've created with each other. That part was nice. But did we learn any new information this episode?
Yeah, pretty little.
Little.
I mean, I will say, since it's been so refreshing that these guys are all really created a brotherhood, that it was nice to see them all in that regard. I mean, a lot of the other seasons of stuff is just not, because I guess they're somewhat excited, but I don't know, the camaraderie was not anything like before. So I will admit that was refreshing to see.
Yes, it was nice to see. And nice to see in recaps.
Yeah, well, I mean, that, I don't know. I could have just replayed the episode if I really wanted to.
Well, there were more behind the scenes and additional footage than what we've seen.
Yeah, like 20% of the show maybe was new content.
All right, well, we will get into all of it here. So let's take you through Men Tell All. Did they really tell all?
Men told a quarter, more like. Oh, wait, I also had
told a quarter.
Men tell all, and then all the tears flow.
Why?
That was my second saying. Because there was like all these nonstop teary moments. Like all the audience was like in tears half the episode, and
yeah,
the guys were getting emotional and stuff. So
moments like that, yeah.
So anyway, yeah, let's get into it.
Men tell all,
Yeah, how many
and
times are you gonna say
tears
that?
will fall.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Tears fall in Men Tell All. That's better. Tears fall in Men Tell All.
Yeah. I had to take a shot for every time we say that phrase.
Yeah, every time we say, let's play a little game, guys. Every time we say Men Tell All, take a shot of whatever you're drinking. Water,
Yeah.
tea.
You may not want to do that.
If it's alcohol, please, please, maybe switch to a different drink.
Yeah. Might might be in the hospital after this.
So are you ready for men tell all? Okay, how many times? Let's get someone to track how many times we say it.
Yeah. No, please.
No, okay. We're going to try to not say it anymore, right?
Yeah, we're done.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
I don't think I'm done.
No.
I just love saying it. Just say it one time, like in an announcer voice.
The men tell all.
Well, this starts out with a Charles L. with shoe polish hair looking at the empty stage and saying, wow, what a setup that we're all about to be on. That's how they open the episode.
Yeah, they give him like a solo shot of being inside the studio and admiring all the decorations and set stuff. So,
which there was a lot of emphasis on Charles L. this episode. A lot of emphasis. I thought there would be, like a good segment of him, but just like he's the most famous person ever. Like that's how they painted him out to be on this episode.
Yeah, I'd agree. He was like probably almost the biggest star that they highlighted.
And like what placement did he get? I don't even know what placement he got at this point.
I think it was like the episode before Hometowns, I think. Or maybe the one before. I don't know. Something like that.
Well, for someone in like the top 10, that's a lot of attention that he got.
Yeah.
So next we see Jesse coming out to an applauding audience and the men all sitting together, and it's an introduction. They introduce all the men again by name and they wave when their name's called. So they're introducing people, and then we see people in the audience with signs for who they're cheering for, and there's a "We Love Charles L" sign. A lot of signs for Charles. Then Jesse asks Charles, how much have you missed these men? And Charles gets emotional, and he says, every minute I've missed them.
Yeah, he really enjoyed the time. Which, I mean, all of them did, but he was no different.
Yeah. So we also see that they invited all the kids to come in. So all the children of the men.
Yeah, that was an interesting surprise.
In the audience, yeah.
Having the children there.
Like everybody's children. All that would come.
Right, at least some of the kids from each of the
men.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, I guess it was kind of nice for them to get their reactions on some of the events.
So the first flashback we see are the bunk beds, which I have to say, when I saw the bunk beds again, I was even more appalled at how they looked. Like wooden small bunk beds for senior men.
Yeah, I mean, you do have this, but I guess they really don't make, I mean, because how many bunk beds do you really use outside of being 12 or older, really? That could be a new market industry, is having luxurious bunk beds or bunk beds for seniors.
In case pals want to bunk up.
You still have a sleepover in your 60s and 70s with your best friend. But I mean, yeah, it looks a little ridiculous because you have this high luxury mansion and then some
wooden small bunk beds.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of that, them getting settled in their bunk beds. And then we also see Pascal asking the men of the mansion if they would like to do his laundry and if they would like to cook for him. And Pascal's reaction to this, because they showed Pascal's live reaction in the corner of the screen, was really funny. He was laughing a lot.
Yeah, they all really kind of, I think reliving those moments was pretty nice for them to enjoy that again. You could really tell by their reactions to everything.
Yeah, it was really fun for them, it looked like. And they basically took us through a recap of all the different challenges and a recap of how hard it was to sleep in a room with a bunch of senior men. And they asked Pascal if the snoring really was as bad as it seemed. And Pascal said that the walls were vibrating and his bed was vibrating at night from all the sound and snoring and people getting up and using the restroom. And
yeah, they really accentuated the problems of the sleeping. That was quite a big
It
got brought up multiple times. So.
Yep. And Greg said he didn't know how much he snored. But now he knows, now that the men told him, and now he's been inspired to take care of his sleep apnea. So that's great.
Yeah, to come out and yeah, I guess great for him for identifying a problem he had.
Yeah. So lots of talk about sleep apnea, snoring. And then we dive into the kickball competition and all the injuries that the men received. They recap that. And we also learn that Kim separated his shoulder during that competition, which, ouch.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys had some pretty serious injuries, but they showed their dedication to win those extra few minutes with Joan.
To Joan.
Yes. Our Bachelorette.
Our Bachelorette. And then they go into the Chippendales show, and then they center in on Jonathan, and they say to him, "Are you sure you never stripped before?" And Jonathan says, "Oh, not professionally." So
yes,
that was funny because he was a natural apparently at doing that.
Yeah, they were really questioning whether it was professional or not.
Yes. And then they go into Keith and they talk about how his lifelong dream was to be a Chippendales dancer. And he looked a little embarrassed by that comment.
Well, he said, there's some things I said that I wish I could,
Yeah.
could take back. So clearly, once he was in the moment, he learned that it was not a lifelong dream
Yeah.
to be a part of it.
But then they really drive it home and they say, "Keith, your daughters are in the audience and we really want to know what your daughters think about you and that challenge." And then they zoom in on one of his daughters and she says that they're happy that he's being his truest, authentic self, but they're really happy that he kept his shirt on during the challenge. So
Yeah, it was kind of interesting getting the perspectives, but it was like calculated on how they each of the kids chimed in. Like I think only his kids just commented about the Chippendale stuff, and then we had some comment about other things. But
yeah, Keith was like the sole focus after they got Jonathan's questions out of the way.
Yeah,
and then of course they say, "Oh well, this competition was to raise money for cancer, though. Let's not forget that," because we're really highlighting just the Chippendales part. And that's important to note, too. And then they go into Mark and how he was hesitant to participate in the challenge until he heard it was to raise money for cancer. And then he said, "You couldn't keep me off that stage once I learned about that." And what I thought was really sweet here is Mark was wearing a pink ribbon on his suit for breast cancer awareness.
Right, because his late wife
passed away from cancer. So
it did hit home for him to help out with this.
Yes. Then they zoomed in on Mark's kids, and there's no Kelsey in the audience.
Yeah, I wonder, because then we see Joey shows up later as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder where
Kelsey
was.
Where was Kelsey?
Busy making another deal or on her own TV show or something. I don't know.
Which is that was weird. The whole thing was weird because Kelsey's been showing up to watch Joey on Dancing with the Stars, which has to tape close by to there.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly still in the spotlight with everything. I mean, especially too, you have Joey on DWTS. So, but yeah, it was quite strange that I would have really expected her to be there tonight. I guess something else
popped up.
Something else took priority.
If you know where Kelsey was, tell us. But that was nice. They featured his other children and also his future son-in-law as well.
Yeah, some of the other kids got a chance in the spotlight.
Finally. So then they zoom in on Michael, which he must have been eliminated pretty early on.
He was pretty early on, but I remember him. He was the banking CEO formerly.
Right.
But then, too, I do remember he actually, which was kind of interesting, his big hobby was gardening. So he had all
You remember that?
Yeah, I don't know why. For some reason, that has stuck with me. But
wow.
he was a big gardener. He had a photo album of all these plants that he was taking care of and had grown throughout the years. And he was showing Joan that. But, yeah, it was a little more not so socially adept, but yeah, he did get knocked out pretty early on.
He did. But they were talking about cancer with Mark, and then they go to him, and he shares with everybody so graciously that he was diagnosed with cancer right before the show, and going through the whole process of the show and bonding with the men and meeting Joan and how sweet she was really lifted his spirits in a time where he could have been the lowest he's ever been in his life. So he's really grateful for his time on the show. And now he says he's doing okay and they caught it early, which is great. But I thought that was really bold, and people probably admired him for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty touching to see that he had this, and this kind of really helped him, I think, just take his mind off of that and be able to have some fun with the guys and Joan, and really kind of be able to keep him in good spirits during a tough time for him. So, yeah, it was really nice.
Really nice. So, pretty touching moment there. And then we cut back to focus more on Charles, and we see a clip where Charles is pretty much just welcoming the man, or we see a clip where Charles is welcoming the men into the mansion. And he's saying, here, there's food and drinks here. And, you go walk this way for other items and look at all the things on the wall. And he's acting as the host. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, he was, I guess he's done some real estate. He's just a big architecture buff or something, or it's a big hobby of his. Because, yeah, they showed the clip of him and Jack, which they showed a little bit of this on the first episode, I remember. Because they're almost trying to say, like, oh, some of these men are more like interested in the architecture of the house.
Oh, right. Yeah.
First Joan or something. But yeah, him and Jack were roaming around the house, looking at all the different rooms set up and the different decorations and things. And so, yes, I guess maybe he kind of early on quickly scouted everything out first before all the other guys or something. So he was leading them around like he owned the place. But
I love how passionate he was about that. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then we see Christopher and Jack in this scene of what they call Burgergate, because Chris likes to put barbecue sauce on his burgers, and Jack says barbecue sauce is a big no-no. And Jack is the chef or the caterer.
Right.
So we should probably listen to him when it comes to cooking burgers.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of barbecue on burgers, but I don't know, maybe it's a hidden secret or something, but
I don't know. I agree with Jack, and he said a simple salt, pepper, maybe some garlic powder, whatever, something just like very minimal to season it would work. But
right, I mean, generally the condiments are where you add your flavoring.
But to squirt cold barbecue sauce all over the burgers.
It was on top of the grill, so they would have warmed up pretty quickly.
Do you think you would have liked it though if it was doused in barbecue sauce?
Probably not. I'm not a big barbecue to begin with, but no, probably not. I mean, simple ketchup and mustard works great for me. So
yeah, I think that works great.
But I don't know. I guess it's a thing somewhere since Chris seems to like it. So
hey, whatever works for you. Yeah.
However you like your burgers.
Well, I wonder what Gordon Ramsay would say about Chris and his barbecue sauce.
Probably that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I bet he would frown upon that. So they take this whole burger thing to the next level, and then they show Jack outside the studio cooking burgers. And they're like, oh yeah, he just cooked before the show. And they're like, not only did he cook before the show, he cooked burgers for everybody in this audience. And I was thinking like, yeah, right. He actually cooked for like hundreds of people.
But I figures
he's a caterer.
He would have announced that and just say, oh, just psych. Just kidding.
I didn't think that they would wheel out all these burgers for everybody.
It was kind of strange because I don't think they've ever had people eat on the show before.
Right. And it's like sloppy eating too. Like they zoomed in on Mary, Joan's mom, who looks fabulous, by the way, for the state she was in before. But they like really zoom in on her, like chowing down on the burger.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely that was probably the biggest surprise of the night.
Surprise one is Joan's mom
honest.
was there and she's healthy and well. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's
Surprise two, burgers were there.
Yeah. Yeah, which I wonder, you were saying this earlier. I wonder if he actually got compensated for this or if it was just, I don't know, maybe because, he's a kid or, he's passionate about it. Maybe just purely for the fun of it. Wanted to do it for,
highly doubt it.
I don't know.
He hopefully got sent them a catering bill like he would for any other
he's
place.
a kind man. He volunteered for this.
Yeah, he's kind. Maybe he gave a 10% discount or something.
Or yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's part of his business then.
I'm sure he brought help or something. He cooked hundreds of burgers by himself.
Well, sure, yeah. Oh, you got a grill. You put 10, 20 burgers on at a time. You go through it pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess so.
It wouldn't take that long. If there's probably 100 people.
So the other men are sitting in dressing rooms getting ready for the show, and he's out by hot grill cooking hundreds of burgers for all the people.
Yeah.
Wow. That is dedication.
Yeah.
And a love for what you do, for sure. It's Jonathan's time in the hot seat with Jesse. But before we get to that, there's a sign from an audience member that says, "Jonathan, I'm single."
Yeah, that was an interesting shout out. But yeah, they really zoomed in on that.
They did. And then we see some scenes recapping Jonathan's time with Joan. And then you see live Jonathan in the corner of these scenes. And he's getting really emotional, watching the whole journey back. He's tearing up and sad.
Yeah, I guess. I guess going through it at once and not making it to the end and then having to kind of rewatch it. Because I bet you I wonder if they watch these episodes or not. Or, they lived it. Why do they need to watch it? Or maybe they want to see what was filmed out of it. I don't know. But yeah, I would think if I didn't make it, I really probably wouldn't want to watch it again. So,
or maybe they didn't air yet, or I don't know.
Yeah, but I went through it. I know how it happened. I don't need to reliving through it. Might be, I don't know.
I feel like you would want to though, right? It's you're on the show. I'm sure your kids would want to watch you or watch together, or I don't know.
If I didn't win, I'd say no. You're not watching this.
Oh, come on. If you didn't win, you don't want to see your fantastic journey with the bros?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess more so from that, but they're not going to highlight that part. I don't know. Maybe I'd be like, hey, can you give me the raw footage? So.
Can you give me the raw footage? You would watch. I'm sure you would
I'd make my own clip of me just hanging out with all the guys. What a great time that was. And just X out the the star of the show.
Why? Because you'd be heartbroken?
I probably wouldn't want to watch that again. No.
But they didn't leave on a bad note.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. It's a romantic connection went bad, so.
It went bad.
Yeah, it went sour.
It went sour. So Jesse's being really dramatic with Jonathan, and he says, Joan helped patch up a 43-year-old wound in you, Jonathan.
Yeah, this seemed quite extreme. But I don't know. He did. It was.
We're talking about the prom date thing again, right? And the feeling of abandonment.
Well, yeah, right. That. But I think, too, right? his story was his wife just woke up one morning and was like, I want a divorce.
I think that was him.
And that was. It was two people, guy and him, I think, were kind of similar. But it seemed more out of the blue. Now, that's their side of the story. But, but yeah,
Well, anyway, Jesse was just really trying to poke more at the getting him really even more emotional about it.
Yeah. It was a little over the top, I thought, but not that for him, but just the emphasis on it,
right?
This 43-year-old hole or whatever, but
a 43-year-old hole, Jonathan, a 43-year-old hole.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse's like, oh, he's already emotional. Let me bring it home with this 43-year-old hole.
Yeah, right.
But no, it was nice to see Jonathan showing his emotions and how much he cared and how special and sweet of a person he is too. And next we see a connection that he had with Mark too, because he pulls out a Post-it note that he says was in his coffee cup one morning from Mark, and he pulls out his glasses to read it to the audience. And then you could see Mark already getting emotional.
Well, I think especially because he held on to those notes. To still hold those after
How sweet is that?
a couple of weeks or months, whatever it's been.
That's just so meaningful.
Yeah.
And especially hearing what the notes said. So Mark says to Jonathan, remind yourself that you're a fantastic human being. And he says to hang up this part in the mirror. And it's, I am strong, I am interesting, I am handsome, I am deserving, and I am enough.
Yes.
Isn't that so kind of Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very generous thing of Mark. So.
And Mark is weeping in the corner as they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Which really ties into bringing Mark into the hot seat because they then switch to Mark.
Yes.
So Mark's time, they do a recap of his journey. And one funny quote that they had Mark say in his recap was, he was like initially talking about Joan and he says, she's got my eye, both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was a great like dad joke.
Yeah. Like not just one eye, both of them.
Yeah, so they kind of reflect, and I mean, Mark kind of looked emotional, not so much as Jonathan, but I mean, he looked pretty emotional
he did
while reliving the moments as well.
Well, especially reliving the moment of seeing the hummingbird at the mansion and then talking to Pascal and Jordan about it. I think he really got emotional just because he was opening up about his emotions, and Pascal and Jordan were such good listeners on that event.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that was a lot of it. And then this is where they talk to Joey in the audience. And Joey says it was really great to see him open up on TV, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he was, I mean, it was nice, yeah, because it was like, here's your future son-in-law. We even brought him out. But meanwhile, Kelsey is...
Where's Kelsey?
No show Kelsey. Not on time. But yeah, it was nice to see Joey make an appearance and have some words for him. So
well, it looks like they have a good relationship too.
Yeah.
Which is very nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a nice moving in our joining families together. So
and now it's time for Charles L. And he's in the hot seat. Which, is this the first time they're bringing out someone that didn't even make the top 5 into the hot seat?
Oh, really?
I don't know. I just don't know that they have this much focus on someone who didn't
well,
make
apparently
it that
he
far.
was all the rage. I mean,
the
audience went crazy when he was called
We
up.
thought he was great too.
I mean, we really liked him,
but Jesse says he's a pop culture icon now.
He had like a whole fan base cheering when he walked up. So
yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
And the first thing, Jesse addresses his shoe polish black hair because he did have gray hair, and now he just appears with this shocking shoe polish color.
Yeah, he's like, we noticed something different about you, Charles. And he said, oh, I think it's the food I'm eating is changing my hair color.
So he just like made a joke of it.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't know. To each their own, but I think the gray hair looked better. But
yeah, I think it looked better, more natural, less shocking. But I will say we saw a picture of him young in his recap, and he did have shoe polish looking black hair back then.
Yeah, so I mean, at least it was not like he had brown hair or something, and now he's going pitch black with it. But,
right.
I mean, yeah, he basically just, I guess, wants to kind of relive what he used to have. So
right.
So that's understandable.
At least it was somewhat near his natural color before.
Right. Yeah.
So we go into the recap, and then we see the whole story about him needing that answer about what happened to his wife with the blood in her mouth, and him connecting with Guy on that, and how emotional that was for him to get that answer that he was looking for, which was really nice to see that clip again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting that he has to wait to meet Guy to understand that that could have been the possibility. Like, I don't know. Did he bring it up to the doctors that took care of her, or I don't know. It's just interesting. So I mean, yeah, it's very heartwarming that he can finally come full circle and have that that question answered for him. But
yeah, I think so too. I think just in the moment, I don't think you're thinking to ask the doctor, "Hey, this happened to." I think you're so shocked and you're just sad that you're not really thinking about that. But I guess he could have went back and asked what happened or did research, but I don't know. I think he silently carried that for a long time.
Yeah.
what was nice too is seeing Charles and his daughter talking about this, or his daughter's reaction to this, because that was her mother. So she was very nice. And she is the one that encouraged him to apply for the show. So I think we're seeing like a common theme that a lot of the children are either applying their fathers for the show or strongly encouraging them to go out there.
Yeah, are doing it behind their back.
Yeah. So his daughter said that he shows much more confidence now that he's been on the show. So this really worked out that he was on the show, because they were at a wedding together and he got into the middle of the dance floor, something he would never do before. So the show really boosted his confidence levels.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like he had quite a bit to take away with when he left.
Yep. And then we end here with him saying that all the friendships he gained with the men are really a treasure to him. And then...
Yes, and then we have a fangirl of his posse get up and say as a group, we nominate you as the Golden Bachelor.
I was like, what is going on here? She just like stood up all of a sudden. She's like, Charles,
I can't
we want you.
imagine that was unscripted. I'm sure that had to be scripted in, but I mean, they tried to make it seem ad hoc, which was good. But yeah, really, I don't know. I mean, you were stunned by it.
I was stunned because I was like, first of all, what the heck is going on? Second of all, is this the official announcement for him being Golden Bachelor? And at the end, it wasn't the official announcement. So then I just got confused altogether. Were they hinting at maybe he could be the Golden Bachelor? What do you think was going on here, the decision to put that in?
Yeah. I mean, I almost wonder if maybe they want you to think that, or maybe even just throw the idea of, hey, you should start thinking about who's going to be the Golden Bachelor. Or like maybe they're almost doing like an indirect poll of the fan base to see who they'd maybe want to see as the Golden Bachelor. But I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it really did. I mean, it almost was like, wait a second, is this like a formal request that this is his time to become it?
But then we find out it's not really formal, because she goes, well, if you're not interested in that, my mom's single.
Yeah.
So interesting.
A lot of single mothers out on the on this audience.
Which, wow, Charles as the next Golden Bachelor, that would be something. That would be one entertaining season for sure.
Yeah, you were like blown away by it.
I was so shocked. I'm like, I didn't even think they would consider him, but now this is kind of nice thinking about it. So what's weird is next we have some time with Pascal, but then they go away from Pascal and then they come back to Pascal again after that too, for like the real grilling of stuff. But this is Pascal's first time in the chair, light version Pascal.
Yeah, well, they were focusing mainly on one first, he was clean shaven this time, where before he had like a little bit of a scruff.
Well, wait, let's talk about his outfit, because I thought he had like the best outfit out of all the men up there.
Yeah, that olive green jacket was pretty nice.
With the black.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. I mean,
he's
like
very that suit.
Fashionable.
Very
fashionable. All his clothes are quite.
Love that color green. I loved how it went with the black tie and the black undershirt. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see here where he held a meditation and like a spa day or spa hour.
Really crazy to see.
It was Jonathan, Mark, and Guy, I think.
Yes.
I think it was the three of them. And they do like one of those mask things.
He passes out face masks, and also Jonathan has cucumbers on his eyes.
I think all of them had cucumbers.
Well, I don't know. I focused really hard on Jonathan's because the cucumber was drooping down off
falling.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they all had it, but yes, his was ill placed. And then Pascal leads, and he said, "Oh, you will take a breath in and out, and you will hum Joan, and you will say Joan, and you'll
they
be
say
Joan."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Wow, this is really great. I'm really feeling zen right now."
Yeah.
And
Jonathan says he felt like he was in a trance. It was working so well.
But then Pascal brings out these pans, a pot and a pan, and
he's banging them together like that's supposed to be tranquil. It's just really crazy.
Well, you almost kind of saw like how much like he was really
Getting into it.
getting a kick out of it, that he was adding this, and it was. But I don't know, it was pretty funny. But then he comes out and he's like, I don't meditation. I don't know what that is. I've never led that before.
He's like, I have absolutely no clue about meditation. But meanwhile, all the men said he did so well at helping them feel relaxed. So
Yeah,
that was interesting. Him focusing on the breathing and the chanting and the facials.
yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So Pascal live was laughing at himself watching that footage. And then they have Pascal get everybody in the audience to do the Joan chant
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
And then they don't do a recap of Pascal's journey and they save that for a little bit later. They send him back.
Well, because they're kind of, I guess, almost going in like a chronological or very. No, I guess not. I don't know. Never mind.
Maybe they just wanted like a little fun break or something.
Well, yeah, and I think too, because
They probably
that's
couldn't.
the most recent moment that's happened. They don't want to jump into that midway. They want that to be the last thing they talk about. So.
Well, they probably also couldn't tie in something really, really funny with Pascal breaking Joan's heart.
Yeah, I guess.
So that those two don't mesh well.
Yeah.
So now I get it, actually talking more about it. But then it's time for Captain Kim. So in his clip, he says, the men, they need guidance from captains. And like he was acting like he was their captain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a retired Navy captain. He's been doing this probably for 35 years. And I mean, it's just how he operates at this point. I mean, he just naturally take charge of a situation. And so, yeah, he's kind of going around trying to fix things around the house and
he's taking charge.
keep the guys orderly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And Pascal, there's a clip of him saying, wow, he really like operates in a military way here. And
Yeah, he wasn't a fan of it.
no, yeah, he looked like he was not a fan of that. And then, of course, we have to see the clip about the Mansion Men song. So there's clips of him saying, hey, I wrote this song. I want all of us to sing it tomorrow. It's meant for all of us to sing. And then they show Gary denying him again in the kindest way possible. And Kim is laughing at it live, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, he definitely had a very light personality to it watching it back. I mean, this was like the most drama they could even pull out of this whole series was
that they all didn't
them
want to sing
denying
that song.
Yeah.
But they didn't even show the recap of Guy joining him and how sweet that was. But
yeah, I thought they would have at least shown that, but I guess because he couldn't make an appearance tonight, they didn't.
right, so they probably didn't want to
bring attention to him.
Because Guy and Chalk were not in this at all. Like they were in the background of like a scene or two or something, but they were not a focus.
Right. Yeah.
So then they end on a clip of Kim rehearsing the song by himself. And then Jesse says, well, this song was not meant to be a solo act. We need to give it the tribute it deserves. And then in comes a choir of men. And they are there to sing the song. And Kim is so honored by this.
Yeah, that was pretty funny to see that they really turned it into a whole ensemble of a
that was really cool
event. So
and it was the gay men's chorus of LA, and they all came to sing the song. And then as they're singing it, Kim joins in and Jesse joins in, and the very end of the song, they like had a big pause before they said goodnight, and Kim goes, good night. Like he's trying to like get that part in, but then they pause. And then they all harmonize together good night, which was nice.
Yeah.
So, and Kim was like, oh my gosh, that was so nice. Like gives him a standing ovation.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Full circle. Kim gets a group of men to sing his song like he wanted in the beginning.
Yeah.
He was touched by that because he couldn't be touched by his brethren singing it.
Yeah.
So now that we got all of that out of the way, Pascal, it's your time in the hot seat. So then we show, well, okay, first we zoom in on some sign in the audience being held by a female, and it says, can somebody do my laundry? Which I thought was funny.
Oh, I missed that one, I guess.
Yeah, you were looking away.
Yeah.
I saw you weren't looking at that. But you looked away for a second. But so they recapped Pascal's time, and then we see Pascal's son and daughter. They're in the audience, which was nice. And then Jesse really focuses on what just happened between Joan and Pascal. And he asks him, how do you feel about what happened? And Pascal says he's still sad about what happened. He never meant to hurt Joan. So you can tell he feels really bad about the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was, but I mean, it was just, I mean, they tried a connection. It never really, at least from his side, never took. So he needed to kind of nip it in the bud before it would get any worse. So,
right.
So, yeah, I mean, he cares for her as a friend, but that's it.
That's it. Which is understandable.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to connect romantically.
Right.
So then Pascal's son says that men are usually told that crying is a weakness and not to show emotions. And he says he's been very inspired by his father showing his emotions on TV and that he loves his father very much and appreciates that. So a touching moment between father and son.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a moment they shared.
And then Joan comes out. And I have to say I was stunned by her dress when she first came out. We were watching it with Joseph's parents, and they were stunned as well.
Yeah, it was a very, I don't know, interesting dress.
Like the metal piece looked really heavy in the front.
Yeah, that gold.
The gold metal.
Like a gold bar almost.
It was very interesting.
It was a 24 karat gold.
Yeah. Like, wow.
Yeah.
So when Joan comes out, one of the first things they do is zoom in on Gary, and Gary tells Joan how much the journey meant to him. He's honored and humbled to have been a part of the journey. And then he points to Joan's mom in the audience, so tying it back to that nice prayer that he wrote about Mary.
Well, he was like trying to get his spotlight in the moment about
yeah, maybe that
whole
really
moment.
was.
I
He's
feel
like
he was trying to stretch for that.
He's like, I have to talk about this then because I wrote that whole framed prayer for Mary.
Yeah.
So he says he's so happy to see Mary here in the audience and doing so well. And then they zoom in on Mary and she goes, why, thank you.
Yeah.
So then we go to Charles, and Charles tells Joan that he misses her, and Joan says how much she loves Charles and misses him too and wants his number so they can stay in touch.
Yeah, which I thought that was quite, because I was always wondering too, especially like how many of these people would she actually want to like continue like a friendship or something.
Well, she's like, oh yes, I really want to stay in touch. And then she's like, I want to stay in touch with everybody. I want to be friends with everybody on the show. And I'm like, do you really want to be friends with everybody?
Well, it was probably, it was like, this may be a couple, but it's like, I don't want to look mean. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe she would, but I don't know. I can't imagine you would keep all, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, you live all over the place, so it's not like you'd ever probably see each other.
You can't be best friends with 30 people, but
yeah, they're pen pals.
Yeah, but Joan says Charles looks handsome, and she'll always remember Charles and how special he was to her. And then this seemed like a couple of men just like fighting for like the spotlight too. And then Jonathan chimes in and he says, "Thank you so much, Joan, for the opportunity, and I want to give a little update about me."
Yes, he announces that he is seeing someone now.
Which, how nice.
Yeah.
That's so nice that Jonathan found love with somebody.
Yeah, but then they zoomed in on that person who said, I'm single for Jonathan. Or my mom's single or whatever. So
What? For Jonathan?
Yeah, he showed up and then there was like someone holding a sign saying, my mom's single or I'm single.
Why would they zoom in on that moment and ruin Jonathan's moment there?
Yeah, but then he was like, oh, I don't know, maybe that, I don't know.
So Jonathan's happy and we're really happy for him, but I kind of thought maybe he would be the next Golden Bachelor. Now I'm sad he won't be.
Yeah, so. I guess he's already he's
taken.
Cross him off the list. He's not an option.
Off. And then last but not least, Pascal and Joan talking together. And Joan says she just wants the best for Pascal. And Pascal says he loves her and he cares about her genuinely. So that's where they ended.
Yeah. I would imagine they would actually maybe keep in contact, but if I had to guess.
I would think so, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Once again, I mean, you're not going to travel, take a flight on the plane just to see them again,
Right.
probably.
Well, whereas like keeping in touch with Charles or Jonathan, I feel like would be way more of a friendship, keeping in touch situation for Joan and them. But keeping in touch with Pascal, somebody that you could see Joan had real feelings for, that might be difficult.
Well, let alone too, let's say she actually, continues on with Guy or Chalk. Like, are they going to want to?
They probably don't even
gonna
want her to
wanna
keep
go-
in touch with him, right? Maybe they'd be jealous that she's talking to him.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be a good situation because I feel like the closer you are to the top, the more it is you're like an actual like boyfriend
You're
or
a threat.
not a threat, but like someone that she actually
Right.
cared for, developed
Yeah.
feelings for. So
Yeah, it'd be strange.
yes. So next, blooper time. And we see Pascal cutting somebody's hair, and then they turn the person around in the chair, and it's Charles wearing a wig.
Yes. Which this is like 99% of the new content that was released on this episode.
Yeah, seriously. Charles wore a wig, and Pascal used his scissors to cut it. Three things I wrote down: Charles and the wig with Pascal. The next one was the men being really hot and wiping off all their sweat with towels in different scenes. And the third one was Jonathan eating spicy guacamole and then chugging a whole bunch of water. And those were the three things that were new.
Yes. And then there was a couple scenes, I guess, where they were like doing a talking head and then a boom mic or something falls over. And
Right, or the curtain
shakes
fell
the
down
screen.
or
Right.
something,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had nothing to talk about after the bloopers were over. They zoomed in on Jonathan. They're like, so Jonathan, like how spicy was that guacamole? And he's like, it did come out hot.
Yeah. This whole transition was kind of.
And everybody's like, oh, like no one knew what to say to that.
Yeah. I don't know. The bloopers were like that great.
And then Jonathan had to add in that comment probably because he was like, oh, let me just say something here.
Yeah.
What did you think about his comment?
I mean, he had to put something in, so
Did you think it was entertaining?
a little bit. I don't know if it was that exciting, but
Was it strange to hear?
yeah, I don't know. that was just a weird moment. That was strange.
The chugging water.
Yeah.
So those are all the bloopers. And next, a teaser for next week. And it's the final two men. It's Guy and Chalk. And now they're in Bora Bora. So this is where Joan makes her big decision.
Yeah, they're really getting to see a bunch of great islands.
Yes. Just traveling around to beautiful places.
Yes. And of course, there's a bunch of drama and misplaced
Ooh, the drama.
dialogues on different scenes.
So what do you think about all that? Yeah, tell us.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like a bunch of hodgepodge of stuff to just get you emotionally involved in it. So
Yes. So we hear Guy saying, my intentions are to marry you. And then we hear Chalk saying, I want to spend my life with you. And then Joan saying, I'm overwhelmed.
yeah, I mean, it was like the same exact with Gary's season. It's all these big dramatic things, and he's like, I never thought I don't want to hurt someone like this, and I don't know, all this hoopla.
What's interesting is we get to meet some of Joan's family because there's a clip of her talking to her family members.
Oh, right, yeah, because I guess that's part of the next week's episode is Chalk and Guy meeting her side of the family. So
Yes, because she met theirs. Now it's their turn.
right,
And again, Joan's saying she doesn't feel deserving of love, which I think maybe they cut that from the Pascal breakup piece. I don't know. That's not really new. I thought we heard that one before. And then Joan says she's only been in love with one person. And then she says, well, more than one now.
oh,
Oh. And then they go to Joan live and they say, so Joan, what do you think about everything? And she says, well, yep, just get ready to get real emotional next week. It was a pretty emotional one. And there were a lot of tears. And then she says, but a lot of happy tears, which makes me think that this ended up well for her.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess.
Did she give it away with that she's walking away with somebody?
Oh, I would think so, yes.
Unless she's happy she's picking herself and nobody.
No. I mean, there's somewhat fact.
Chalk.
Yeah, probably.
So, prediction time. Has your prediction changed since last week?
I mean, no, not really. You don't get that much info, but no.
Who's your first place?
It'd probably be Chalk and Guy again. So
Chalk and then Guy.
yeah.
First and second.
Correct.
All right. Well, it all ends with the Golden Mansion Men's song on Men Tell All. They sing it again.
Well, they don't sing the whole thing. They just say the ending, which is like the...
Do the ending for us.
I don't even know it. Something about... Good night. The end.
Thanks, Kim, for such a wonderful song.
Yeah, it's a banger.
It's a banger.
So I want you to remix it.
Yes. Mansion Men remix. I'd love to see that on TikTok.
Yeah. And as they said goodnight on their episode, we're saying goodnight on our episode.
That's right. To all you mansion men and women out there, thanks so much for listening. And we're super excited to recap the finale next week.
Yes, we will see who she picks up, who she lets down, whose heart is won, whose heart is broken.
Chalk or Guy. Guy or
Yes.
Chalk.
Indeed.
Tune in next week
Yes, on A Found Podcast.
with your hosts, Amanda and Joseph. Peace out.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.